What if the one you cast aside is the only soul your heart cannot live without? Tonight, you will step into a world where destiny is carved not in stone, but in blood and moonlight. A world where love is a weapon and rejection is a curse. This is not a gentle tale. It is fire and shadow, a war between pride and longing, a story of two souls bound together even as they tear themselves apart. You will hear the voice of a man who thought he could outrun fate, and the voice of the woman he thought too fragile to carry his crown. You will walk beside them through betrayal, fury, and the kind of passion that refuses to die. Every choice they make will burn through them, and through you. So let your heart steady, let your breath slow, and surrender yourself to the bond you cannot break. Because once you begin, there will be no turning back. If you're ready to feel every heartbeat, every betrayal, and every impossible kiss, hit subscribe and let the story begin. The great hall glowed with firelight, but its warmth could not reach the silence that followed his words. I reject you. His voice cut through the night like a blade. Gasps rose from the pack, wolves shifting uneasily, eyes darting between their alpha and the woman he had just condemned. It was supposed to be strength, yet the moment the words left him, he felt the first tear in his soul. She stood frozen, her lips parted but no sound emerging. The bond pulsed like fire in her chest, refusing to die even as his rejection hung heavy in the air. Every instinct begged her to scream, to demand why, but pride held her still. Her fingers curled at her sides, nails digging into her palms. "Do not cry," she told herself. "Not here, not before them." The whispers began, sharp as knives. "How could he reject her?" one voice hissed. "Wasn't she chosen by the moon goddess herself?" Another murmured. The pack shifted, the once solid unity now fractured by doubt. Even the youngest wolves, wide-eyed and confused, could sense something sacred had been broken. Their alpha had done the unthinkable. He tried to stand tall, but inside, his wolf howled with fury and grief. The animal spirit within clawed at him, furious at the rejection, at the tearing of something divine. But the man refused to bend. "It is necessary," he whispered to himself, though the words tasted like ash. "I do this for the pack. I do this for strength." Lies that barely convinced his own trembling heart. The old shaman, cloaked in shadows at the edge of the fire, lifted his head. His eyes burned with ancient knowledge, and his voice was low, rasping like smoke. "Rejecting the goddess's gift never ends clean, Alpha. The bond is not broken. It only festers." His warning slithered into the hall, but no one dared challenge the Alpha's decree. She turned, her steps measured though her body begged to collapse. Every stride felt like chains dragging behind her, the bond tugging violently at her heart. And as the doors shut behind her, the Alpha's pride nearly shattered under the scent she left behind. Wild roses after rain, the scent of home, the scent of everything he could not admit he needed. And he knew, in that hollow silence, he had not freed himself. He had only begun a war. The night was colder beyond the walls of the pack, the forest vast and unforgiving. She walked with her arms tight against her chest, each step a rebellion against the pull that still tied her to him. The moonlight painted her face in silver, and though her eyes were dry, her soul bled silently. "He chose pride over me," she thought, "and yet I cannot tear him out of my veins." At the border, shadows shifted, and a figure stepped forward, the rival Alpha, tall and sharp as obsidian. His gaze lingered on her with hunger, curiosity, something dangerous. "You are wasted there," he said, his tone smooth but edged. "With me, you would not be silenced. With me, you would not be thrown away." His words slithered into her ears like an invitation and a warning. Back in his own territory, the Alpha who rejected her sat alone in the dark. Sleep would not come. Every time he closed his eyes, he smelled her scent, heard her footsteps fading, felt the hollow echo of absence. His wolf clawed at his insides, demanding he run after her, demanding he claim what was his. But his pride shackled him to the throne he thought was strength. The bond struck him like a lash across the chest. Pain spread through his ribs, forcing a growl from his throat. He staggered, clutching the table, his body trembling with the invisible thread that bound him still. "This is weakness," he rasped, But the agony told him otherwise. It was not weakness. It was fate, punishing him for spitting in its face. Meanwhile, she was led into the rival's territory. His wolves bowed as she passed, their eyes curious, measuring. She felt the weight of being both honored and objectified. He gestured to the lodge built of stone and timber. "Here," he said, "you will have power. You will not be forgotten." Yet in his gaze, she saw possession rather than partnership, and her stomach twisted. As the rival closed the doors behind her, her pulse quickened, not from desire, but from dread. She whispered into the silence of the chamber, "Why does it still hurt? Why does my soul scream for the one who cast me aside?" And across the forest, the alpha who had rejected her pressed his fist against his heart, choking on the same question. Dawn brought no peace. She woke in the rival's lodge, the scent of pine and smoke heavy in the air, and still she felt the tug, sharp, aching, relentless. The bond lived, a chain she had not asked for but could not sever. She touched her chest, whispering, "Why do you hold me still when you did not want me?" Her voice broke into the silence, and she wished the bond would answer. The rival alpha watched her from the doorway, his expression unreadable. "You feel him still, don't you?" he asked, stepping closer. She flinched at his nearness, but he only smiled darkly. "Good. That means he is weaker than he pretends. That means the bond is mine to twist." His hand brushed her arm, possessive, and the wolf within her snarled in defiance. Far away, the rejected alpha staggered from his chambers, eyes wild from lack of sleep. His beta found him in the courtyard, half shifted, his claws gouging stone. "Alpha, what is happening to you?" the beta demanded. He could not answer. The bond pulsed like a second heartbeat, feeding him her fear, her defiance, her pain. It drove him closer to the edge. The old shaman found him there, his voice like gravel. "The bond cannot be destroyed, only warped. You cut it once, but it bleeds on both sides. If you do not claim her, Alpha, it will devour you. Madness comes for wolves who deny the moon goddess." The Alpha turned away, pride still his armor, but doubt had already cracked it. That night, she sat by the rival's fire, her thoughts a storm. He spoke of alliances, of power, of her place at his side, but her mind drifted back to the one she had left behind. Did he feel this too? Did he know I was breaking? The rival reached for her hand, and though she allowed it, her pulse betrayed her, beating not for him, but for the one she could not escape. And when she closed her eyes, she saw not the rival's face, but the Alpha she hated. In her dream, he stood in the rain, bleeding, whispering her name. She woke, gasping, clutching her chest, the bond burning hotter than ever. And miles away, he woke at the same instant, her name on his lips, his body trembling with the same fire. The rival sought to bind her not only with promises, but with reminders of her past. "They never valued you," he said, his voice velvet, his eyes sharp. "You were always the forgotten daughter, the one overlooked. With me, you are not a shadow. You are a queen." His words pierced, because they were partly true. Her old pack had never seen her, not fully. She remembered nights standing at the edge of celebrations, watching others be chosen, praised, adored. She remembered how even her fated bond had not been met with joy, but with cold calculation. "You were always too fragile," they whispered. "Too quiet, too plain." The rival's words dug into those wounds, feeding the anger she rarely allowed herself to feel. Yet, as he spoke, the bond burned, reminding her that fragility was not the truth, that somewhere deep inside, strength had always waited, and that strength still reached, still longed, for the one who had cast her aside. "Why can't I let go?" she thought, pressing her fist to her knees. "Why do I crave the hand that pushed me away?" Back in his territory, the Alpha drowned in guilt he would not name. He patrolled restlessly, his wolf pacing within him. Every corner of the land felt emptier without her presence. Every howl from his wolves reminded him of her voice. The pack murmured, some in sympathy, others in doubt. A leader who rejects the goddess's gift. Was he still chosen or cursed? His beta confronted him at last. "You cannot lead when you are breaking apart," he said, his tone firm, but grieving. The Alpha snarled in defense, but the words struck deep. He saw the truth reflected in his warriors' eyes. Their faith trembled as much as his soul did. And still, he clung to silence, to pride. Meanwhile, the rival pressed harder, offering her the chance to belong, to rise, to be seen. His wolves looked at her with awe, waiting for her acceptance. Yet deep inside, she knew that to say yes was to betray not only herself, but the bond that refused to die. She lay awake that night, whispering to the goddess, "Why tie me to a man who broke me? Why?" The Alpha returned from patrol to find unrest. His pack had gathered, whispers swelling like a storm. Mothers hushed their children. Warriors shifted uneasily. They had seen their leader falter, seen the shadow in his eyes. And in the silence, questions bloomed like weeds. Can a wolf who rejects fate protect us from enemies who do not? He stood before them, his voice steady, but his chest aching. "I did what was necessary," he declared. Yet even as the words rang, he knew they were empty. He saw doubt in their eyes, disappointment heavy as stone. His beta's stare was the sharpest of all, a silent question that cut deeper than any blade. That night, sleep brought no rest. Instead, visions came, her face in the rival's halls, her smile faint, her eyes dimmed. He woke choking, sweat slick on his skin. The bond had shown him her pain, and his wolf raged, demanding action. Pride chained him to his bed, but his heart beat with rebellion. "How much longer can I deny her?" he whispered into the dark. Far away, the rival moved swiftly. He marked his claim in subtle ways, standing too close, touching her hand, declaring to his wolves that she was his. Some celebrated, others muttered uneasily, and she stood silent, torn between gratitude for being seen and fear of being possessed. Every time he touched her, the bond inside her screamed for the one she hated. By the time the moon rose high, she had made her choice. Silence. For now she would endure, though the weight pressed heavy on her soul. In her chamber, she traced invisible lines across her wrist, whispering, "Do you feel this too? Do you still burn, even after throwing me away?" And across the forest, he answered in silence, his chest burning at the same spot. The shaman found him at dawn, standing at the edge of the woods, fists clenched. "The bond will not let her go," the old man said, his eyes heavy with prophecy. "But if you wait too long, it may not be her choice to make. Another Alpha has set his claim, and the moon does not wait." The Alpha turned, his pride trembling, his wolf howling. For the first time, he wondered if pride was worth the pack, or her life. The forest was alive with whispers, as the Alpha crossed into enemy territory. He told no one, not even his beta. Shadows clung to him as though the trees themselves warned him away. But the bond had grown unbearable, burning his veins until he could no longer resist. "Just once," he promised himself. "I will see her. Just once." She was seated in the rival's courtyard when he found her, a cloak draped around her shoulders. The firelight kissed her hair, and for a moment, he forgot his breath. Her laughter was faint, forced. Yet when her eyes lifted and met his across the distance, the world stilled. 1,000 things unsaid clashed in that single look. The rival approached her from behind, his hand brushing her arm possessively. The Alpha's wolf snarled silently, claws digging into his palms. Jealousy was a poison he had thought himself immune to, but seeing her touched by another tore through every wall of pride he had built. His vision blurred red as the bond raged inside him. When he finally stepped into the light, her lips parted, her heart stumbling. "Why are you here?" she whispered, voice shaking with anger and longing both. He opened his mouth, but the rival's growl drowned him out. "You have no right," the rival hissed. "You threw her away. She is mine now." Her chest tightened as both wolves stared at her, fire and storm in their eyes. Inside, her thoughts screamed, "Why now? Why come back when I fought to let you go?" Yet the bond surged, reminding her that even rejection had not severed them. She turned her face away, whispering, "Leave me." His wolf howled inside, refusing to obey. But her trembling shoulders, the tears she refused to show, broke him more than the rival's threats ever could. He stepped back, choking on silence, retreating into the dark woods. And as she watched him vanish again, her heart shattered a second time. The Alpha returned to his pack with fire in his chest and silence on his lips. His warriors felt the storm radiating from him, but none dared speak. Only his beta, scarred and loyal, met his eyes with quiet judgment. That night, the elder beta followed him into the training yard. "You cannot lead while your soul is torn in half," he said. The alpha snarled, sweat dripping from his skin as he struck again and again at the wooden post. Splinters flew beneath his claws. "My pack comes first," he growled, but the words rang hollow, and the beta only shook his head. "Your pack feels your weakness. They feel her absence too. Do you think wolves cannot smell despair?" For the first time, the alpha faltered. His shoulders sagged, breath heavy. The beta stepped closer, his voice softer now. "Pride is not strength, Alpha. Pride is loneliness dressed in armor. Strength is knowing when to kneel, when to beg, when to love." The words cut deep, slicing through years of stubborn silence. He turned his face away, jaw tight, but the truth clawed at him. Images of her, eyes bright, smile soft, flooded his mind until his chest ached. His wolf whimpered inside, a sound he had never heard from it before. A plea, a cry. Meanwhile, she sat in her chamber, staring at the rival's gifts. Silks, jewels, promises of power, yet none of it filled the hollow ache within her. "He looked at me like I was still his," she thought, but he left again, always leaving. Her hands trembled as she pressed them to her chest, feeling the bond pulse like a wound. The rival entered, his smile sharp as glass. "You see? He cannot protect you. He cannot choose you. But I can." She forced herself to nod, though her stomach knotted. The words were honey and venom, and somewhere far away, the alpha's wolf howled, sensing her despair. The night of the half-moon brought strange dreams. She lay restless, shadows flickering across her walls, when the goddess's voice echoed like a whisper in her soul. "The bond endures, because it was written in stars older than you. Deny it, and you deny yourself." She gasped awake, the words still burning in her chest. Her reflection in the mirror was pale, haunted. "Am I cursed or chosen?" she whispered. The rival stirred beside her, reaching to touch her arm. She flinched, covering her fear with a brittle smile. "The moon speaks," he murmured, though his voice was tinged with something darker. "It tells me you are mine to mark." Across the forest, the alpha woke at the same hour, sweat soaking his skin. The goddess's voice had reached him too, but it was not blessing. It was warning. "The bond will break you both, unless you surrender to it. Do not delay, or madness will claim you." He sat shaking, haunted by the vision of her slipping beyond his reach. At dawn, he sought the shaman again. The old man's eyes were grim. "The goddess has spoken to both of you. She is the thread, Alpha, and you are the blade. Choose wrong again, and both thread and blade will shatter." The alpha turned away, his pride collapsing beneath the weight of prophecy. Meanwhile, she roamed the rival's gardens, dew glistening on the roses. Their scent reminded her of the night she left, of the alpha who still lingered in her blood. She pressed her face to the petals, whispering, "Why do I crave what breaks me?" Her heart thundered with an answer she did not want to hear. The rival found her there, pulling her close. His lips brushed her ear as he murmured, "The full moon comes soon. Accept my mark, and you will never suffer again." She smiled faintly, but her soul trembled, for she knew the goddess did not lie. There would be no escape without choosing, and soon. The alpha gathered his counsel in secret, his eyes sharp, his jaw set. "The bond is killing me," he admitted at last, the words bitter and raw. The room fell silent. Even the beta lowered his gaze, grief heavy in his features. At last, the shaman spoke. "Not killing, Alpha. Consuming. And it will take her too." He slammed his fist into the table, the sound echoing like thunder. "Then what must I do?" The old man's voice was grave. "You must claim her, not with pride, but with truth. Speak what you buried. Admit what you denied. Only then can the bond heal." The alpha recoiled, for truth was more terrifying than death. Across the border, the rival prepared his own ritual. Fires were lit, wolves gathered, and whispers spread. The full moon would bind her, one way or another. He wore his triumph like a crown, his hand resting on her shoulder as if she already belonged to him. Yet she stood stiff, her eyes clouded with sorrow. That night, she dreamed again, and in the dream, the alpha came to her. He stood in chains, blood streaking his chest, whispering, "Forgive me." She reached for him, but he dissolved into mist, leaving only the echo of his voice. She woke crying, the bond tearing her from within. Her heart screamed for freedom, but her soul whispered his name. The rival entered then, catching her tears on his fingers. "He does not deserve you," he said coldly. "Tomorrow, under the full moon, I will end this pain. You will be mine, and the bond will burn away." But her chest burned hotter still, and she knew he was wrong. Far away, the Alpha knelt in the temple ruins, the shaman at his side. He bowed his head, for the first time in years, and prayed to the goddess. "I was a fool," he whispered, voice breaking. "But if she will have me, I will kneel. I will beg. I will love." And the wind shifted, carrying the faintest trace of roses after rain. The rivals' pack prepared for the ceremony, torches lining the clearing, drums echoing like a heartbeat. Wolves howled in anticipation, their voices shaking the night. She walked among them in a white cloak, her steps heavy, her soul trembling. Each drumbeat reminded her time was running out. The rival stood tall before his wolves, declaring, "Tomorrow, she will be mine. Tomorrow, the bond will be silenced." His words thundered through the clearing, and the pack roared in approval. She forced a smile, but her hands were cold, her pulse racing. Inside, her wolf snarled, resisting chains that had not yet closed. Across the border, the Alpha sharpened his blades, though his true battle was not of steel. His pack was restless, sensing his storm. Some begged him to fight, others feared the war it would bring. Yet his decision was already written in his chest. He would not let her be claimed, not while breath remained in him. That night, she sat alone beneath the moonlight, her cloak around her shoulders. She whispered into the sky, "Moon goddess, why bind me to him if he cannot love me? Why torture me with hope?" The wind stirred, carrying the faint scent of rain. Her heart stuttered, and she knew he was near. At the same hour, he stood at the border, staring into the rival's land. His wolf pressed against the cage of his ribs, begging to run, to claim. His pride whispered caution, but his heart thundered louder. "I cannot lose her twice." For once, he let his heart speak louder than his crown. As the drums fell silent and the torches burned low, both stood in the dark, two souls bound, two wolves restless, two destinies ready to collide, and above them, the full moon swelled, patient and merciless. The full moon climbed the sky, vast and silver, flooding the clearing with light sharp as blades. Wolves gathered in a circle, chanting low as the rival raised his arms. At his side, she stood pale and trembling, the cloak slipping from her shoulders. Her heart thundered like a trapped bird, but her face wore a mask of steel. The rival's voice carried, "Tonight, she becomes mine. The goddess herself will witness it." His pack roared, stamping the earth in rhythm. Yet beneath the cheers, she felt only silence. "This is not my fate," her soul whispered. "Not here, not with him." The bond tugged at her like chains, dragging her heart toward the dark forest. And then, the air shifted, the drums faltered. From the shadows at the edge of the clearing, the Alpha emerged. His presence was fire, his eyes blazing gold beneath the moon. Gasps spread through the crowd, wolves stepping back as the rival's snarl split the air. "You dare!" he spat. She could barely breathe as their eyes locked across the fire. Her knees weakened, her wolf surging forward inside her chest. He looked torn apart, wild with desperation, yet anchored with something she had never seen before. Surrender. His lips parted, words spilling raw into the night. "I was wrong." The rival lunged between them, his hand gripping her wrist. "You have no claim," he roared. But the Alpha stepped forward, each word like thunder. "She is mine, not by force, but by soul. I rejected her once, and it has nearly destroyed us both. Tonight, I choose her. I beg her. I need her." The crowd murmured in shock, the weight of his confession striking like a storm. She trembled, her heart torn between fury, longing, and disbelief. Her lips parted, but before she could speak, the rival bared his teeth, his claws flashing. The ceremony was broken. The battle had begun. The rival shifted in a blur of fur and rage, his wolf a massive beast of smoke-colored power. The crowd scattered, forming a ring of silence around the duel. The alpha's bones cracked as his own wolf surged forth, white and gold, radiant beneath the moonlight. Their snarls split the night, the bond between them vibrating like a live wire. She stumbled back, torn between terror and awe. Sparks of energy leapt from her skin as the goddess's presence thickened in the clearing. Blood will answer truth, the voice echoed in her mind. Her chest burned with fire not her own, the bond twisting as though she were fighting beside them. The wolves collided, claws raking, jaws snapping, blood spraying across the earth. The rival fought with fury, his strikes precise and lethal, but the alpha fought with desperation, each blow fueled not by pride but by love. Every time he faltered, his eyes sought hers, and strength surged anew. The rival pinned him once, jaws crushing down, and she screamed his name. Her cry cut through the chaos like lightning, igniting the alpha's wolf. With a surge of fire, he rolled free, his claws slashing, his teeth sinking deep. The rival howled, staggering, but did not yield. She felt torn in two, her soul screaming as the bond burned brighter. Blood glistened on fur, on fangs, on earth. Wolves in the crowd growled low, the pack splintering with doubt. Whispers spread. The goddess chooses. The goddess chooses. The weight of destiny pressed on every watching heart. At last, the rival struck with a killing blow, but the alpha met it head-on, both wolves crashing with a force that shook the earth. Dust rose, blood splattered, and silence fell as the two figures lay motionless beneath the merciless moon. The world blurred as she dropped to her knees, heart hammering, vision filled with fur and blood. She pressed trembling hands to the alpha's chest, whispering his name like a prayer. His wolf's eyes fluttered open, dim, pained, but alive. Relief crashed through her, but the rival rose again, snarling, broken yet unyielding. The goddess's voice thundered now, audible to all. The bond will not be silenced. It is written in the marrow of their souls. Gasps rippled through the crowd as her body glowed faintly, silver light spilling from her skin. She cried out, feeling the bond ignite fully for the first time. Burning, healing, undeniable. The rival staggered back, horror etched into his face. No, he growled. She was mine. She was promised. But the light from her heart reached toward the alpha, threads of silver weaving between them like chains of fire. He lifted his hand weakly, his voice cracked. Forgive me. I cannot live without you. Her tears streamed freely now. She cupped his face, whispering, You broke me, but I am still yours. I never stopped being yours. Her wolf howled inside, the sound echoing through the night, as if every bone, every breath, belonged to him. Around them, the rival's wolves lowered their heads, the goddess's verdict undeniable. The rival roared one last time, lunging forward, but the silver light flared, hurling him back. He landed broken, defeated, the bond's magic burning him away from her soul. She watched him crawl into the dark, his pack torn, his claim forever shattered. When the silence fell, she turned back to the alpha. His bloodied hand reached for hers, trembling. Say it, he whispered, voice raw with both hope and dread. Her lips parted, her soul surging with truth she had hidden too long. The clearing stood hushed, the crowd watching, the moon burning above. She held his face in her hands, feeling the warmth of his blood and the fire of the bond pulsing beneath his skin. You shattered me, she whispered, her voice breaking. You left me in darkness. His eyes filled with tears, golden and raw. I know. Her breath trembled, words tumbling like glass. Why should I trust you now? His chest heaved, his pride stripped bare. Because I am no longer the alpha who chose pride over love. If you deny me, I will not fight. I will not force. But know this. I am already yours, in defeat or in death. The crowd held its breath as silence stretched. Wolves that had feared his pride now saw only his surrender. Her heart thundered, caught between fury and longing. She wanted to hurt him, to make him bleed for every tear, but her soul, her wolf, her very marrow screamed, He is home. She leaned closer, pressing her forehead to his, tears soaking his skin. Then stay, she whispered. No more leaving, no more pride. Stay, and I will be yours again. His sob broke from him, his arms wrapping around her with trembling reverence. For the first time, the bond did not burn. It healed. Silver light spilled over them, the goddess's blessing sealing the wound that rejection had left. Wolves bowed their heads, the air vibrating with ancient approval. The rivals' pack scattered, broken, while her own soul found its anchor at last. The alpha lifted her hand, kissing it with devotion fierce and unashamed. I will stay, he vowed. Through storm, through blood, through death itself, I will stay. And she, through her tears, smiled, for the first time in what felt like lifetimes. The forest breathed with quiet dawn, mist curling through the trees. She walked beside him, their hands entwined. Silence filled with peace instead of ache. Birds stirred above, and for once, her chest was light. Do you feel it? She whispered. He nodded. The bond. Whole. They returned to his pack, the wolves bowing low as they passed. No command was spoken, only respect earned not through dominance but through sacrifice. The beta met her gaze with a nod. His scarred face softened. At last, she was not just his mate, she was their Luna. Days passed, healing wounds both visible and unseen. Yet the scars remained, reminders of a love almost lost. Some nights she would wake trembling, whispering, "Promise me again you'll stay." And always, without fail, he would press his lips to her hair and answer, "Forever." In the rivals' lands, silence reigned, his pack scattered, his name spoken only in whispers. Yet she sometimes felt a shadow on the wind, a warning that pride never dies quietly. But for now, she clung to the warmth of the man beside her, refusing to let fear claim her peace. One evening, he led her to the garden, roses blooming after rain. "Do you remember?" he asked softly. She smiled, touching the petals with trembling fingers. "How could I forget?" The bond pulsed gently, not burning, not breaking, only steady, eternal. The moon rose once more, silver and kind. She leaned into him, her voice a whisper of promise. "I am yours, always." His arms tightened, his heart steady against hers. And as the night embraced them, their love, scarred, tested, unbreakable, was finally whole.